Ladies and gentlemen, if you are enjoying my videos, please click the like button. It is the only way the YouTube algorithm really notices me. I would be very grateful to you. The main characters, all students, had a penchant for seeking adrenaline through various daring activities. They dabbled in urban exploration, or digging where they would explore abandoned or off-limits urban structures such as old factories, tunnels, and derelict buildings. This hobby was not just about the thrill of discovery, but also about navigating the hidden parts of the city that few people ever saw. Another of their interests was stalking, not in the sinister sense, but rather exploring restricted areas, such as abandoned military bases or industrial sites, often requiring stealth and quick wits to avoid security patrols or surveillance. This sense of sneaking into places they weren't supposed to be provided a unique rush. Train hopping, or train surfing, known as zatsipping in Russian, was another high adrenaline activity they engaged in. This involved hitching rides on the outside of trains, hanging onto the sides, or climbing onto the roofs. It was incredibly dangerous, but offered an unmatched sense of freedom and excitement. Parkour was also on their list of pursuits. This activity required agility and precision, involving running, jumping, and climbing over urban obstacles. It was a way for them to physically interact with their environment in a dynamic and exhilarating manner, turning the city into their playground. Lastly, roofing, or climbing onto the rooftops of buildings, provided a combination of physical challenge and breathtaking views. Scaling buildings to reach the top gave them a literal and metaphorical high, as they enjoyed the thrill of being above the cityscape, often taking photos to document their adventures. Despite their brief stints with various teams and groups, they managed to earn a reputation as competent and respectable newcomers within these communities. Their ability to quickly adapt, their respect for the unwritten rules of each subculture, and their evident passion for these activities ensured they were welcomed and well regarded by more seasoned members. Their versatility and eagerness to push their limits resonated with their peers, solidifying their status as admirable thrill seekers in the adrenaline-fueled underground circles they navigated. One cold winter evening, Sergei burst into the narrator's dorm room with a wild gleam in his eyes. He was clearly excited about something, and it didn't take long for him to reveal his idea. "How about we spend our winter break on an extreme trek through Siberia?" he proposed, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. The narrator, sprawled on his bed with a textbook open but not really reading, looked up at Sergei incredulously. "Are you serious?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. The thought of venturing into the frozen wilderness of Siberia during the harshest season seemed more than a little daunting. "Why would we do that when we could stay here, stay warm, and maybe organize a big party instead?" Sergei wasn't deterred by the initial skepticism. He paced the small dorm room, gesticulating wildly as he laid out his vision. "Think about it," he urged. The untouched snow, the pristine silence of the Siberian forests, the sheer adventure of navigating through one of the most remote regions on Earth. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. We'd be testing our limits, pushing ourselves in ways we never have before. The narrator couldn't help but be drawn in by Sergei's fervor, though he still harbored doubts. He imagined the freezing temperatures, the endless trudge through snowdrifts, and the very real dangers that such an expedition could entail. "I get it, Sergei. It sounds epic," he admitted, "but it also sounds like a recipe for frostbite, if not worse. We don't exactly have the experience for something like this." Sergei stopped pacing and turned to face his friend, his expression a mixture of determination and excitement. "That's exactly why we should do it," he argued. "We've been seeking thrills and challenges all this time, digging, stalking, train surfing, parkour, roofing, but this is the ultimate test. And think of the stories we'd have to tell afterwards. We'd be legends." Despite his reservations, the narrator felt a flicker of intrigue. There was something undeniably appealing about the idea of such a bold adventure. He sighed, glancing out the window at the softly falling snow. "All right, let's say we consider it. How exactly do you plan on surviving out there? Do we even have the right gear?" Sergei grinned, sensing a victory. "I've already started planning," he revealed. "We can get the necessary equipment from the university's outdoor club. They have everything we need: tents, sleeping bags, skis, the works. And I've been doing some research on survival techniques and routes. Trust me, we can do this." The narrator couldn't help but be swept up by Sergei's infectious enthusiasm. He knew that if anyone could pull off convincing him to trek through Siberia in the dead of winter, it was Sergei. "All right, fine," he conceded with a reluctant smile. "Let's do it. Let's have an adventure we'll never forget." Sergei's face lit up with triumph. "That's the spirit," he exclaimed. And just like that, their winter break was set to be anything but ordinary. After an intense debate and much contemplation, the narrator finally came around to Sergei's idea of an extreme trek through Siberia. It hadn't been an easy decision. The logical part of him had persistently argued against the sheer insanity of braving Siberia's winter wilderness. The prospect of staying in the cozy dormitory, enjoying the warmth, and perhaps throwing a festive party seemed infinitely more appealing. Yet, something about Sergei's unbridled enthusiasm and the allure of an unparalleled adventure began to chip away at his reservations. The night after Sergei's initial proposal, the narrator lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, scenes of snow-covered forests, the thrill of the unknown, and the stark beauty of a Siberian winter contrasted sharply with images of frostbite, getting lost, and potential danger. However, underlying all the fears was a growing excitement he couldn't ignore. By morning, the decision had almost made itself. The mundane routine of university life felt stifling compared to the idea of a grand adventure. He imagined looking back on this decision years later, the stories he would tell, and the sense of accomplishment he would feel. The narrator realized that this wasn't just a trip, it was a chance to create memories that would last a lifetime. That afternoon, he found Sergei in the cafeteria, hunched over a map with a notebook filled with scribbled notes and plans. "All right," the narrator said as he sat down across from his friend, a determined look in his eyes. "Let's do it. Let's go to Siberia." Sergei looked up, his face breaking into a broad grin. "Really? You're in?" he asked, barely containing his excitement. "Yeah, I'm in," the narrator confirmed. "You're right. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We'll figure it out as we go. I want to do something extraordinary, something we'll never forget." The next few days were a blur of preparation. They borrowed equipment from the university's outdoor club, gathering tents, sleeping bags rated for extreme cold, skis, and other essential gear. Sergei had already mapped out a potential route, and they spent hours going over the details, studying survival techniques, and discussing worst-case scenarios. Friends and classmates reacted with a mix of admiration and concern when they heard about the plan. Some thought they were crazy, others envied their daring, but no one doubted their determination. The two adventurers were fueled by a mixture of excitement and nervous energy, knowing they were about to undertake something monumental. The night before their departure, the narrator couldn't sleep. He lay awake, listening to the wind howling outside, the sound reminiscent of the icy Siberian gales they would soon face. Despite the nerves, there was an undeniable sense of anticipation. This was what living truly felt like, stepping into the unknown with nothing but hope, courage, and the strength of their friendship to guide them. As dawn broke, they loaded their gear and set off towards the train station. The city streets were quiet, the air crisp with the promise of snow. The narrator glanced at Sergei, who was practically bouncing with excitement, and felt a surge of confidence. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. "Ready for this?" Sergei asked, his breath visible in the cold morning air. More than ever, the narrator replied, feeling a thrill run through him. They boarded the train, leaving behind the safety and predictability of their everyday lives. Ahead of them lay the vast, unforgiving expanse of Siberia, and with it, an adventure that would shape their lives forever. The journey to Siberia was an adventure in itself. Armed with determination and a sense of excitement, Sergei and the narrator set off on a series of interconnected legs, each one more colorful and challenging than the last. Their mode of travel was as diverse as it was unpredictable, and they embraced every part of the trip with the same adventurous spirit that had prompted their expedition. First, they boarded a crowded third-class sleeper train, or Platzkart as it was commonly known. The carriages were filled with a mix of travelers, from families on holiday to laborers moving between jobs. The narrow bunks, stacked 3 high on either side of the aisle, became their temporary home. The rhythmic clatter of the train on the tracks provided a hypnotic soundtrack as they wound their way deeper into the Russian heartland. The Platzkart was a microcosm of Russian life. During the day, it bustled with activity, children playing, vendors hawking snacks and souvenirs, and fellow passengers sharing stories and food. At night, the carriage transformed into a quiet cocoon of shared humanity, the only sounds the occasional cough or murmur. Sergei and the narrator took turns squeezing onto the narrow upper bunks, where sleep came fitfully but was welcome nonetheless. After several days, they transferred to an elektrichka, a local commuter train that connected the smaller towns and villages. These trains were less comfortable and more crowded, with wooden benches and passengers packed like sardines. But they were also more intimate, providing glimpses into the lives of everyday Russians. The friends struck up conversations with fellow travelers who were curious about their plans and offered advice and encouragement. The warmth of these interactions contrasted sharply with the cold, gray landscape outside the windows. As they ventured further, the journey became more improvised. They hitched rides with truck drivers who were bemused by the pair's audacious plan. One driver, a grizzled veteran of the road, shared stories of the harsh Siberian winters, his tales a mix of warning and fascination. His cab was a haven of warmth and camaraderie, the friends grateful for the respite from the biting cold. In more remote areas, the friends resorted to traveling zayats or stowaway on freight trains. These clandestine journeys were the most thrilling and nerve-wracking. They hid among crates and containers, hearts pounding whenever the train slowed or stopped, fearing discovery by the railway guards. The open cars exposed them to the elements, and they huddled together for warmth, their breath visible in the frigid air. One memorable night, they found themselves in an open-top car, the sky above a brilliant tapestry of stars. The vastness of the Siberian wilderness stretched out around them, an endless sea of snow and forest. In that moment, despite the discomfort and danger, they felt a profound connection to the land and to each other. It was a reminder of why they had undertaken this journey in the first place. Eventually, they reached the outskirts of their destination. The landscape had transformed into a pristine, snow-covered wilderness, the villages few and far between. The final leg of their journey was on foot, their skis strapped to their backs as they trudged through the snow, guided by the faint tracks of infrequent travelers. Their arrival at the edge of the Siberian forest marked the beginning of the true adventure. They stood at a small, unmarked station, little more than a platform and a signpost, the last outpost of civilization. From here, they would delve into the heart of the wilderness, where the real test of their resolve and survival skills awaited. As they shouldered their packs and set off into the unknown, the friends shared a glance of mutual determination. They had navigated the complexities of Russian transportation, each leg of the journey a chapter in their unfolding story. Ahead lay the vast, untamed expanse of Siberia, and with it, the promise of an adventure that would challenge and change them in ways they could not yet imagine. Disembarking at an unnamed whistle stop in the heart of Siberia, Sergei and the narrator immediately felt the raw essence of their adventure and the profound solitude that accompanied it. The small platform was a stark contrast to the bustling, crowded trains and stations they had navigated to get here. There were no ticket booths, no station masters, and no signs of modern life, just a wooden platform and a faded signpost standing stoically against the vast white landscape. The air was crisp and biting, the kind that stings the lungs with every breath, and the silence was almost tangible, broken only by the distant cry of a raven or the soft whisper of the wind through the trees. The friends stood for a moment, taking in their surroundings, their breath visible in the cold air. They were miles away from the nearest town, and the sense of isolation was both exhilarating and intimidating. The wilderness around them was pristine and untouched, a blanket of snow covering the ground and the trees, transforming the landscape into a winter wonderland. The forest, dense and ancient, seemed to close in around the small clearing, its towering pines standing like silent sentinels. Despite the remoteness, they knew that small villages were scattered throughout the area, inhabited by hardy souls who had made a life in this harsh environment. These villages, however, were not visible from the station, hidden away in the folds of the landscape. With their skis strapped to their backs and their packs heavy with supplies, Sergei and the narrator set off into the forest, leaving the small platform behind. Their path was uncertain, guided by maps and compasses, and a sense of adventure that urged them forward. Each step took them deeper into the wild, the snow crunching underfoot the only sound in the vast silence. The sense of adventure was palpable. Here, in the heart of Siberia, they were far from the distractions and comforts of modern life. It was just them and the wilderness, a test of their skills, endurance, and camaraderie. The challenges ahead were unknown, but that was part of the allure. Every decision mattered, every movement counted, and the consequences of any mistake could be severe. As they moved deeper into the forest, the sense of solitude grew. The realization that they were truly on their own began to sink in. There were no roads, no power lines, no signs of civilization, just the endless expanse of snow and trees. The occasional animal tracks in the snow were the only indication that they were not completely alone in this vast wilderness. They set their course toward a distant ridge, which they hoped would provide a vantage point to orient themselves and plan their next steps. The terrain was challenging, the snow deep and the ground uneven, but they moved with determination and a growing sense of excitement. This was what they had come for, the pure, unfiltered experience of nature in its most raw and beautiful form. As the day wore on, the light began to change, casting long shadows through the trees and bathing the snow in a soft, golden glow. They found a small clearing and decided it was time to set up their first camp. The process of making a temporary home in the wilderness brought a sense of accomplishment and peace. They gathered wood for a fire, cleared a space for their tent, and settled in for the night, the warmth of the fire providing a comforting contrast to the cold night air. Around the campfire, the friends shared stories and dreams, the flames dancing in their eyes as they talked late into the night. The forest around them seemed to listen, the stillness and solitude fostering a deeper connection between them and the land. They knew that the journey ahead would be tough, filled with challenges and unexpected twists, but they also knew that this was an experience they would carry with them for the rest of their lives. In the quiet of the Siberian night, under a sky ablaze with stars, Sergei and the narrator felt a profound sense of purpose and wonder. They were adventurers, explorers in a land that few dared to venture into. The beginning of their adventure had already taught them much, and they were eager to learn more, to push their limits and discover the hidden beauties of this remote and magnificent wilderness. Armed with skis borrowed from their college coach, Sergei and the narrator embarked on the first leg of their ambitious trek into the Siberian wilderness. Their initial steps took them into a dense forest, its silence only occasionally broken by the distant call of a bird or the soft rustle of a squirrel scampering up a tree. The snow lay thick and unbroken before them, a pristine white blanket that had not felt the touch of human feet in a long time. The weight of their packs settled into their shoulders, but it was a reassuring weight, a reminder of the supplies and gear that would sustain them in the days ahead. The skis beneath their feet glided smoothly over the snow, and the rhythmic sound of their movement quickly became a meditative background to their thoughts. To conserve energy and maintain a steady pace, they adopted a system of alternating leads. One would forge ahead, breaking the trail through the deep snow, while the other followed in the freshly made tracks, conserving energy and catching their breath. It was a method born of necessity and experience, allowing them to push deeper into the wilderness with each passing hour. The forest was a mix of towering pines and slender birches, their branches heavy with snow. Sunlight filtered through the canopy, casting dappled patterns on the ground that danced with the gentle sway of the trees. As they moved further from the remnants of civilization, the sense of adventure grew more palpable. They were truly venturing into the unknown, guided only by their maps, compass, and the unyielding spirit of exploration. Occasionally, they would pause to consult their map and compass, ensuring they stayed on the correct bearing. The goal was to reach a ridge that promised a panoramic view of the surrounding area, providing a better understanding of the terrain they would navigate in the coming days. Each pause also served as an opportunity to take in the serene beauty around them and to share a word or two of encouragement. The physical exertion of breaking trail through the snow was demanding, and it wasn't long before the sweat began to freeze on their brows and eyelashes. But the challenge only seemed to invigorate them further. They were pushing their limits, testing their endurance and resilience against one of the harshest environments on Earth. As the hours passed, The alternating rhythm of leading and following became second nature. They moved like a well-oiled machine, each taking their turn at the front with a determined resolve, knowing that their shared effort was key to their success. The camaraderie between them deepened with each shared glance and wordless gesture of support. The landscape began to change as they gained elevation, the trees growing sparser and the snow deeper. The ridge loomed ahead, a silent sentinel that promised both challenge and reward. Reaching it would mark a significant milestone in their journey, a testament to their determination and skill. When they finally reached the ridge, the view that greeted them was nothing short of breathtaking. The forest stretched out in all directions, a sea of white and green under the pale winter sun. In the distance, the faint outline of mountains could be seen, their peaks shrouded in clouds. It was a moment of triumph and reflection, a chance to take stock of how far they had come and to plan their next steps. As they stood there, side by side, Sergei and the narrator felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The journey was still in its early stages, but they had already proven to themselves that they were capable of facing the challenges ahead. They knew that the path before them would not be easy, but it was a path they were eager to follow. With renewed determination, they descended from the ridge and continued their trek into the unknown, their spirits buoyed by the beauty and solitude of the Siberian wilderness. They moved forward with a sense of purpose and adventure, ready to face whatever the land had in store for them. As dusk began to settle over the snowy landscape, Sergei and the narrator decided it was time to set up camp for the night. The golden hues of the setting sun were slowly being replaced by the deep blues and purples of twilight, and the temperature was dropping rapidly. They needed to establish their campsite before darkness enveloped them completely. With practiced efficiency, they split the tasks. Sergei, who had a knack for identifying good firewood, grabbed the hatchet and set off to find dry, dead trees. These would provide the best fuel for their campfire. The sound of his rhythmic chopping soon echoed through the silent forest, a stark contrast to the soft whispers of the wind through the trees. Meanwhile, the narrator focused on clearing a suitable spot for the fire. He used his hands and a small shovel to remove the snow, exposing the frozen ground beneath. It was crucial to create a safe, stable area for their fire, one that wouldn't easily spread or cause an accident. After a few minutes of hard work, he had a cleared circle large enough for a substantial fire. For the fire, they decided on a method called the lazy naja, a traditional Swedish technique perfect for their needs. This method involved placing two large logs parallel to each other, with smaller kindling and sticks laid in between. As the fire burned, the logs would gradually collapse inward, maintaining a steady flame for hours with minimal maintenance. With the fire pit ready and a good pile of firewood gathered, they quickly set to work on the fire. Sergei expertly arranged the logs and kindling, then struck a match. The flame flickered to life, dancing merrily as it caught the dry wood. Soon the fire was crackling robustly, casting a warm, inviting glow and providing much-needed warmth against the encroaching cold. Next, they turned their attention to setting up the tent. Working together, they quickly laid out the ground sheet and erected the poles, their breath forming clouds in the frigid air. The tent went up smoothly, a testament to their teamwork and familiarity with the gear. Once the structure was secure, they laid out their sleeping bags and insulated mats inside, creating a cozy retreat from the harsh elements outside. With the tent up and the fire burning brightly, the campsite began to feel like a small sanctuary in the vast wilderness. The firelight illuminated their surroundings, casting long shadows and highlighting the sparkling frost on the trees. The forest, which had seemed so imposing and vast during the day, now felt intimate and protective. Sergei added more wood to the fire, ensuring it would burn steadily through the evening. They took a moment to admire their handiwork, feeling a sense of accomplishment. The warmth of the fire was a welcome relief after the cold exertions of the day, and the thought of a hot meal and rest was incredibly appealing. The narrator prepared a spot near the fire to cook their dinner, while Sergei finished securing the last of their gear. They would use the fire not only for warmth, but also to melt snow for water and cook their food. The lazy naja method ensured they wouldn't need to constantly tend the fire, allowing them to relax and enjoy their evening. As darkness fully descended, the stars began to emerge, twinkling brilliantly in the clear, cold sky. The Milky Way stretched overhead, a reminder of the vastness of the universe and their small place within it. But here, in their well-organized camp, surrounded by the serenity of the Siberian wilderness, they felt a profound sense of peace and connection to nature. Their camp was a beacon of light and warmth in the darkness, a testament to their survival skills and their bond as friends and adventurers. As they settled in for the night, they knew that despite the challenges ahead, they were well prepared to face them together. With the camp set up and the fire crackling merrily, Sergei and the narrator turned their attention to dinner. Tonight's meal was simple but satisfying Krakow sausage, a hearty staple that would provide the sustenance they needed after a long day of travel. They sliced the sausage and roasted it over the open flame, the savory aroma mingling with the scent of wood smoke and pine needles. As they waited for the sausage to cook, they filled a kettle with snow and suspended it over the fire, patiently waiting for it to melt into steaming water. The snow sizzled and hissed as it made contact with the hot metal, sending up plumes of steam that disappeared into the chilly air. Once the water had come to a rolling boil, they brewed strong tea, pouring the hot liquid into metal cups and inhaling its fragrant steam. The warmth of the tea spread through their bodies, chasing away the last traces of cold from their bones. They sipped slowly, savoring the earthy flavor and the comforting heat against their numb fingers. With their hunger sated and their thirst quenched, they leaned back against their packs and relaxed by the fire. The crackling flames cast dancing shadows across the clearing, painting the snow-covered ground in shades of orange and gold. Above, the stars twinkled brightly, a celestial canopy that seemed to stretch on forever. The forest around them was silent, save for the occasional rustle of a nocturnal creature or the soft sigh of the wind through the trees. It was a peaceful solitude, a welcome respite from the noise and bustle of civilization. Here, surrounded by the majesty of nature, they felt a profound sense of calm and contentment. They talked quietly as they sat by the fire, sharing stories and laughter in the glow of the flames. They reminisced about past adventures and speculated about the ones still to come, their voices blending with the crackle of burning wood and the whisper of the wind. As the hours slipped by, they gradually fell into a comfortable silence, lost in their own thoughts and the timeless rhythm of the forest. The fire burned low, its embers glowing softly in the darkness. They wrapped themselves in their blankets and settled down for the night, lulled to sleep by the gentle murmur of the wilderness and the warmth of the fire at their backs. As the flames flickered and danced in the crisp night air, Sergei broke the silence with a contented sigh, expressing his delight at the adventure they had embarked upon. He leaned back against his pack, gazing into the fire with a sense of wonder and appreciation for the natural beauty surrounding them. The crackling of the flames seemed to echo his sentiment, filling the clearing with warmth and light. The narrator, despite the weariness that settled in his bones after a day of travel, found himself nodding in agreement. He too felt a deep sense of satisfaction, basking in the camaraderie of their shared journey and the comforting glow of the fire. The orange light cast flickering shadows across his face, accentuating the lines of fatigue and the glint of excitement in his eyes. As they sat together by the fire, their conversation ebbed and flowed like the flames before them. They spoke of the sights they had seen and the challenges they had overcome, sharing anecdotes and laughter as they reminisced about their past adventures. Sergei regaled the narrator with tales of his childhood spent exploring the wilderness, his words infused with a sense of nostalgia and reverence for the natural world. The narrator listened intently, hanging on Sergei's every word, his fatigue momentarily forgotten in the warmth of their friendship and the glow of the fire. He found himself transported by Sergei's stories, imagining himself as a young boy running through the forest, the wind in his hair and the scent of pine in the air. As the night wore on and the fire burned low, their conversation turned to quieter topics, their voices hushed in the stillness of the forest. They spoke of dreams and aspirations, sharing their hopes for the future and the adventures that lay ahead. Despite the uncertainty of what tomorrow might bring, they found solace in each other's company, drawing strength from their shared experiences and the bond that united them. And so they sat together, two friends beneath the stars, their hearts full and their spirits light, grateful for the simple pleasures of good company and the warmth of a friendly fire on a cold winter's night. Curled up beside the dying embers of the fire, the narrator turned to Sergei with a curious expression, his voice carrying a hint of exhaustion laced with anticipation. He posed the question that had been lingering in his mind since they set out that morning. How far do you think we've come today? Sergei, his face illuminated by the fading glow of the fire, pondered for a moment before responding. With a thoughtful nod, he revealed that they had covered approximately 10 kilometers over the course of the day. There was a quiet pride in his voice as he spoke, a sense of accomplishment tinged with the weariness of exertion. To Sergei, this distance represented more than just a numerical value. It was a testament to their resilience and determination. They had carved their own path through the snow-covered landscape, each step a victory over the elements and the unknown. And as they trudged onward, breaking trail through the pristine wilderness, they forged a bond that transcended the physical distance they had traveled. For Sergei, 10 kilometers was not simply a measurement of space, but a measure of their courage and perseverance. It was a tangible reminder of their shared journey, a marker of progress on the winding road of adventure. And as they settled in for the night, their bodies weary but their spirits undaunted, they found solace in the knowledge that they were one step closer to their destination, wherever it may lead. As the night draped its comforting veil over the wintry landscape, the friends huddled over their map, their fingers tracing the winding paths and hidden trails that lay ahead. With a sense of purpose and anticipation, they embarked on the task of planning their route for the following day. Together, they identified a key landmark on the map: the riverbank, a mere 10 kilometers away. It was a beacon of hope, a tangible destination that promised respite and progress. If they could reach it by tomorrow's end, they would be one step closer to their ultimate goal. Their plan was clear: trek along the river's edge until they reached an old logging site, where a bridge or a frozen expanse of ice would usher them to the opposite bank. From there, it would be a straightforward journey to the nearby village, where they could restock their supplies and gather their bearings before continuing on to the station. With each detail meticulously plotted and every contingency considered, they felt a surge of confidence and determination. The map, once a maze of unknowns, now offered a roadmap to their dreams, a testament to their resilience and resourcefulness in the face of adversity. As they folded up the map and settled into their sleeping bags for the night, the promise of tomorrow's adventure filled the air with a palpable sense of excitement. For in the vast expanse of the Siberian wilderness, they found not only challenges to overcome, but also moments of unparalleled beauty and discovery that awaited them just beyond the horizon. As the fire crackled softly, casting dancing shadows across the snowy landscape, a flicker of concern crossed the narrator's face. What if they failed to find the river tomorrow? What if their footsteps led them astray into the labyrinth of the wilderness, with no clear path back to safety? But before the tendrils of doubt could take root, Sergei's reassuring voice cut through the silence like a beacon of hope. With a calm demeanor born of experience, he reminded his friend of the tools they possessed: a map, a compass, and the unwavering resolve to persevere. "There's no need to worry," Sergei reassured him, his voice a steady anchor amidst the swirling currents of uncertainty. "We have everything we need to find our way. Even if the path ahead seems obscured, the river will guide us. We'll follow its course, tracing its meandering curves until we reach our destination." His words were a soothing balm to the narrator's frayed nerves, infusing him with a newfound sense of confidence. With each passing moment, the specter of doubt receded, replaced by a quiet determination to embrace the journey ahead, wherever it may lead. And so, as the night enveloped them in its tranquil embrace, the friends found solace in the knowledge that, no matter how daunting the challenges that lay ahead, they would face them together, armed with courage, camaraderie, and an unshakable bond forged in the crucible of adventure. With the flames of the campfire casting a warm glow upon their faces, the duo embarked on their nightly ritual of sustenance. The melody of bubbling water in the kettle and the savory scent of crackling sausage filled the crisp air, enveloping them in a cocoon of culinary delight. As the water reached its boiling point, they carefully measured out fragrant tea leaves, their delicate aroma mingling with the earthy perfume of the forest. Meanwhile, the crackling sausage sizzled and spat over the open flame, its tantalizing aroma wafting through the air like an irresistible invitation to indulge. With practiced hands, they ladled spoonfuls of creamy mashed potatoes onto their tin plates, the rich, buttery texture a comforting embrace against the biting chill of the winter night. Slices of Krakow sausage, seared to perfection, adorned their makeshift feast, offering a tantalizing contrast of flavors and textures. Sitting cross-legged by the fire, they savored each mouthful with relish, the hearty fare warming their bodies and nourishing their souls. In the flickering firelight, worries and cares melted away, replaced by a sense of contentment and camaraderie that only a shared meal in the heart of nature could provide. As they exchanged stories and laughter, the crackling fire serving as their faithful companion, they found solace in the simple pleasures of good food and good company. And as the final embers of the fire cast a soft, golden glow upon their faces, they knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, fortified by the bonds of friendship and the comfort of a well-cooked meal. As they journeyed deeper into the heart of the woods, Serhii made an observation that sparked a thought-provoking conversation between them. It was a remark that seemed almost out of the blue, yet profound in its implications. "Have you noticed," Serhii began, his voice carrying a tone of contemplation, "that since we entered the forest, we haven't uttered a single swear word?" The realization hung in the air, inviting them to delve deeper into its significance. They mulled over this observation, pondering the subtle ways in which their surroundings had shaped their speech and demeanor. "It's as if the very essence of the forest has seeped into our words," remarked the narrator, his gaze drifting upwards to the canopy of trees overhead. "In this tranquil sanctuary, our language has taken on a gentler, more respectful tone." They shared anecdotes of past adventures, recalling instances where colorful language had flowed freely in the face of adversity. Yet here, amidst the towering trees and rustling leaves, such words seemed out of place, replaced instead by a sense of reverence for the natural world surrounding them. "It's almost as if the forest itself demands our respect," Serhii mused, casting a thoughtful glance around their leafy sanctuary. "And in return, it bestows upon us a sense of calm and tranquility that quiets the restless spirit within." As they continued their journey, the absence of profanity became a silent testament to the transformative power of nature. In the embrace of the forest, their speech echoed the serenity of their surroundings, imbued with a newfound sense of harmony and reverence for the world around them. As the embers of their evening fire dwindled to a soft glow, casting dancing shadows on the fabric of their tent, Sergei and the narrator retreated into the cozy confines of their shelters. The day's exertions had left them pleasantly fatigued, their bodies welcoming the prospect of rest after a day spent in communion with nature. Inside their respective tents, they prepared for the night ahead, shedding the layers of their outdoor attire and cocooning themselves in the warmth of their sleeping bags. Despite the chill in the air outside, a sense of tranquility pervaded their makeshift sanctuary, suffusing the space with a comforting stillness that belied the wilderness beyond. With the flap of the tent securely fastened against the elements, they settled onto their sleeping mats, their bodies sinking into the cushioned embrace of their makeshift beds. The soft glow of their headlamps cast a gentle illumination within the tent, painting the fabric walls with a warm, golden hue that lent an air of intimacy to their surroundings. As they lay in the quiet darkness, the crackling of the dying embers outside serving as a lullaby, they exchanged quiet words of contentment and reflection. Wrapped in the serenity of the night, they found solace in the simple pleasures of companionship and communion with the natural world. Before drifting off to sleep, they made a silent pact, a whispered promise to each other that if the chill of the night crept into their bones, they would rouse themselves from slumber and seek solace in a steaming cup of tea from their trusty thermos and the comforting warmth of the dwindling fire outside. With this understanding, they surrendered themselves to the embrace of sleep, their minds at ease and their bodies lulled into peaceful repose by the gentle symphony of the night. In the sanctuary of their tent, amidst the rustling of leaves and the soft murmur of the forest, they found refuge from the cares of the world, cocooned in a tranquil haven of their own making. As dawn painted the sky in hues of soft pink and gold, Sergei roused the narrator from the depths of sleep, a sense of urgency evident in his voice. The morning air was crisp and biting, a reminder of the unforgiving cold that awaited them outside the confines of their tent. With a quick breakfast of trail mix and hot tea hastily prepared over the dying embers of their campfire, they steeled themselves for the day ahead. The chill in the air seemed to seep into their bones as they emerged from the warmth of their sleeping bags, the promise of a new day tempered by the biting cold that greeted them. Yet, despite the frost that clung to the grass and the mist that hung low in the air, there was an undeniable sense of purpose in their movements as they prepared to resume their journey. With their breath hanging in the air like wisps of smoke, they donned their packs and set out once more into the wilderness, their footsteps crunching softly on the frozen ground beneath them. The sun had yet to fully rise, casting long shadows across the landscape as they navigated their way through the silent forest, their breath forming small clouds in the chilly morning air. Their pace was brisk, fueled by the knowledge that they had miles to cover before nightfall. Sergei led the way, his steps sure and steady as he charted a course through the dense undergrowth, while the narrator followed close behind, his senses attuned to the subtle rhythms of the natural world around them. As they walked, the chill of the morning began to dissipate, replaced by a growing sense of anticipation for the adventures that lay ahead. With each step, they drew closer to their destination, their hearts buoyed by the knowledge that they were embarking on a journey of discovery and exploration unlike any they had experienced before. And so, with determination in their hearts and the promise of new horizons on the horizons, they pressed onward, eager to see where the path would lead them next. As they pressed forward along their chosen route, the chill of the winter morning began to loosen its grip, replaced by a gradual warming of the air. Yet, despite the thawing temperatures, a sense of unease settled over them like a heavy blanket, brought on by the ever-changing weather and the ominous clouds that gathered on the horizon. The landscape around them seemed to mirror their shifting moods, the once tranquil forest now cloaked in an air of uncertainty. The sun struggled to break through the thick veil of clouds that hung low in the sky, casting a dim light over the path ahead. It was a stark reminder of the unpredictability of nature and the precariousness of their situation. With each passing mile, their apprehension grew, fueled by the knowledge that the weather could quickly take a turn for the worse, throwing their carefully laid plans into disarray. They exchanged worried glances, silently acknowledging the looming threat that hung over them like a sword of Damocles. Their pace slowed as they trudged onward, the weight of their packs feeling heavier with each step. They were acutely aware of the delicate balance between progress and peril, and the fine line that separated adventure from adversity. Despite their fears, they remained determined to press forward, their resolve unshaken by the challenges that lay ahead. For in the face of uncertainty, they found strength in their shared determination to see their journey through to its end, whatever the cost. And so, with hearts heavy with trepidation yet buoyed by the promise of discovery, they forged ahead into the unknown, mindful of the dangers that lurked just beyond the horizon. For in the wilds of Siberia, where the elements held sway and the whims of nature ruled supreme, every step forward was a triumph of courage over fear, and a testament to the indomitable spirit of the human heart. With their resolve steeled against the encroaching uncertainties of the wilderness, the intrepid duo pressed on, their trusty map and compass serving as their guiding lights in the sea of uncertainty that surrounded them. Every step forward was a deliberate dance between determination and diligence, as they navigated the labyrinthine trails that crisscrossed the Siberian landscape. The map, weathered and worn from countless journeys, unfolded before them like a treasure map to untold riches, its faded lines and cryptic symbols holding the promise of discovery and adventure. With practiced hands, they traced the contours of their chosen route, their fingers lingering over each landmark and waypoint with a reverence born of necessity. Beside them, the compass needle danced to the rhythm of the Earth's magnetic pulse, its steady oscillations a silent symphony of direction and purpose. With each glance, they reaffirmed their course, ensuring that their path remained true amidst the shifting tides of uncertainty. But even the most reliable of instruments could falter in the face of nature's capricious whims, and so they relied not only on the tools at their disposal, but also on their keen instincts and sharp senses. Like ancient mariners navigating by the stars, they sought out familiar landmarks and natural signposts, using them to triangulate their position and confirm their course. Their eyes, keen and watchful, scanned the horizon for any sign of deviation, their minds ever alert to the slightest shift in the landscape. Each tree, each rock, each bend in the trail held significance, serving as both guide and gauge in their quest for progress. And so they journeyed forth, two souls bound by a common purpose and a shared determination to conquer the untamed wilds of Siberia. For in the heart of the wilderness, where the boundaries between man and nature blurred and time itself seemed to stand still, every step forward was a triumph of skill and savvy, and a testament to the enduring spirit of adventure that burned bright within them. As they pressed forward, their senses attuned to the rhythm of the wilderness, an unexpected twist of fate halted their progress in an instant. With a sudden jarring thud, Sariga disappeared from sight, swallowed whole by a hidden chasm concealed beneath a deceptively innocuous blanket of snow and foliage. For the narrator, time seemed to grind to a halt as concern rippled through his veins like an electric current, his mind racing with visions of potential injury and catastrophe. With cautious steps, he approached the yawning maw of the pitfall, each footfall a tentative exploration into the unknown depths below. The scene before him was one of stark contrast, the pristine white landscape marred by the jagged tear of the concealed crevice, a stark reminder of the dangers that lurked beneath the surface of their seemingly tranquil surroundings. With bated breath, he peered into the darkness, straining to catch a glimpse of his friend amidst the shadows below. But amidst the chaos and uncertainty, a flicker of hope remained, a glimmer of reassurance that perhaps, against all odds, Sariga had emerged unscathed from his unexpected plunge. With trembling hands, the narrator reached out, his fingers brushing against the icy edge of the pitfall, as he sought to grasp hold of the truth that lay concealed within its depths. In that moment of suspended animation, time seemed to stretch to infinity, a fleeting eternity suspended between fear and hope, uncertainty and resolution. And as the narrator gazed into the abyss, he knew that whatever lay ahead, he would face it with courage and determination, for in the heart of adversity lay the seeds of resilience, and in the face of danger, the promise of triumph. As the gravity of the situation unfolded, Sariga's somber words hung heavy in the air like a shroud of uncertainty. With a grimace etched upon his face, he revealed the agonizing truth. The searing pain radiating from his spine rendered him immobile, a prisoner within his own body. For the narrator, this revelation was a chilling echo of their vulnerability in the unforgiving wilderness. With every passing moment, the specter of isolation loomed larger, casting a shadow over their hopes of rescue or reprieve. In a vast expanse devoid of human presence for miles in every direction, their predicament seemed all the more dire. The weight of responsibility settled upon the narrator's shoulders like a burden too heavy to bear. With no help in sight and the specter of injury looming large, every passing second felt like an eternity, each heartbeat a painful reminder of their precarious situation. Yet, amidst the encroaching darkness, a flicker of determination ignited within the narrator's soul. Though fear threatened to consume him, he refused to succumb to despair. With steely resolve, he vowed to do whatever it took to ensure his friend's safety, even if it meant facing the unknown alone. In that moment of reckoning, amidst the desolation of the wilderness, the bonds of friendship emerged as their most potent weapon against adversity. Together, they would navigate the treacherous terrain of injury and uncertainty, drawing strength from the unbreakable ties that bound them together in solidarity and resolve. As the frigid embrace of the snow-covered wilderness tightened its grip, Sariga's agonizing cry pierced the silence, shattering the tranquility of the desolate landscape. His leg, ensnared in the icy jaws of a hidden crevice, throbbed with searing pain, rendering him helpless against the merciless elements. For the narrator, the sight of his friend trapped in the clutches of nature's icy embrace ignited a primal surge of fear and determination. With every fiber of his being, he steeled himself against the paralyzing grip of panic, his mind racing to devise a plan of action amidst the chaos. First and foremost, he needed to assess the extent of Sariga's injuries. With bated breath and trembling hands, he carefully examined his friend, his heart sinking at the sight of Sariga's pale face contorted in agony. Relief washed over him like a wave as he realized that, despite the excruciating pain, Sariga's spine remained unharmed. With a newfound sense of purpose, the narrator sprang into action, his movements fueled by adrenaline and resolve. Ignoring his own discomfort, he bent down to grasp Sariga's outstretched hand, his fingers closing around his friend's with a reassuring grip. With a Herculean effort, he pulled with all his might, each tug accompanied by a chorus of groans and gasps as Siriga's injured leg protested against the strain. Inch by agonizing inch, they emerged from the icy depths of the snowdrift, the bitter cold biting at their exposed skin like a ravenous beast. Finally, with one last desperate heave, Siriga was free, his body collapsing onto the frozen ground in a tangle of limbs and exhaustion. As the adrenaline-fueled rush of the rescue began to ebb away, the full weight of their predicament settled upon them like a suffocating blanket, leaving them trembling and vulnerable in the unforgiving wilderness. Yet, amidst the chaos and uncertainty, a glimmer of hope remained, a beacon of light amidst the encroaching darkness. Together, they would weather this storm, drawing strength from the unbreakable bonds of friendship that had carried them through the darkest of days. As Siriga was pulled from the treacherous grip of the snow-laden crevice, a grim realization dawned upon the narrator with chilling clarity. It was evident from the moment Siriga's limp form emerged into the harsh light of day that his right leg had borne the brunt of the fall, bearing the unmistakable signs of serious trauma around the knee region. With each passing moment, the gravity of the situation became more apparent. Siriga's leg hung at an unnatural angle, dangling precariously, as if held together by sheer force of will alone. Every movement sent waves of excruciating pain coursing through his body, a relentless reminder of the fragility of human flesh in the face of nature's unforgiving wrath. The narrator's heart sank as he surveyed the extent of the damage, his mind reeling with the implications of Siriga's injury. Was it a dislocation, a fracture, or something far more sinister lurking beneath the surface? The uncertainty gnawed at him, a relentless specter haunting his every thought as they grappled with the harsh reality of their predicament. Yet, amidst the turmoil and despair, a flicker of determination burned bright within the narrator's soul. With unwavering resolve, he vowed to do whatever it took to ensure Siriga's survival, drawing strength from the unbreakable bond that bound them together in the face of adversity. Together they would brave the storm, confronting the challenges that lay ahead with courage and resilience. For in the crucible of adversity, true friendship shines brightest, illuminating the darkest of paths with the light of hope and unwavering camaraderie. As the weight of Siriga's injury settled upon their shoulders like a heavy shroud, the narrator's mind raced with the urgent need to devise a plan, a lifeline to navigate the treacherous waters of their predicament. With a steady hand and a heart filled with resolve, the narrator set to work, drawing upon every ounce of ingenuity and resourcefulness at his disposal. Recognizing that Siriga would be unable to proceed under his own power, he resolved to fashion a makeshift splint using whatever materials nature could provide, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. Scouring the surrounding wilderness for suitable branches and foliage, the narrator set about fashioning a rudimentary splint, carefully securing it in place with strips of cloth torn from their tattered garments. With each knot tied and every branch aligned, he imbued the structure with a sense of purpose, a tangible symbol of their unwavering determination to persevere against all odds. Yet mere pain relief would not suffice to see them through the trials that lay ahead. Drawing upon the meager supplies at their disposal, the narrator unearthed a flask of potent spirits, a humble offering in the face of overwhelming adversity. With measured doses and steady hands, he administered the elixir of pain relief, offering Siriga a brief respite from the agony that threatened to consume him whole. But the narrator's ingenuity did not end there. Casting his gaze upon the snow-laden landscape, he saw not just an obstacle, but an opportunity, a chance to transform their misfortune into a means of salvation. With a twinkle of determination in his eye, he proposed a daring plan to fashion improvised sleds from sturdy pine branches, a makeshift conveyance to carry Siriga safely to their destination. With each passing moment, their makeshift sleds took shape, a testament to the power of human ingenuity in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. And as the final knots were tied and the last branch laid in place, the narrator felt a surge of pride swell within him, a silent acknowledgement of their indomitable spirit and unwavering determination to overcome whatever challenges fate saw fit to throw their way. As the shadows of uncertainty loomed large over their snow-covered sanctuary, the narrator embarked upon a delicate dance of encouragement and reassurance, a steadfast beacon of hope in an otherwise bleak landscape. With every word spoken, he sought to infuse the air with a sense of optimism, a glimmer of light amidst the encroaching darkness. Drawing upon reserves of inner strength that he never knew he possessed, he spoke with a voice both firm and resolute, determined to bolster Sariga's spirits in the face of adversity. "Listen, my friend," he would say, his tone unwavering, his gaze fixed upon the horizon. "We may be facing challenges unlike any we've encountered before, but I refuse to believe that they will be our undoing. Together, we possess a strength that knows no bounds, a resilience born from the depths of our shared experiences." With each word spoken, he wove a tapestry of hope, a vision of triumph against all odds that hung heavy in the crisp winter air. And though doubt may have lingered like a shadow upon Sariga's brow, the narrator remained steadfast in his conviction, his unwavering faith serving as a guiding light through the darkest of nights. "We will reach the station, my friend," he declared, his voice carrying across the snow-laden landscape like a clarion call. "And when we do, help will be waiting for us, a beacon of hope in our hour of need." And though the road ahead may have been fraught with uncertainty, the narrator's words served as a lifeline, a tether to a brighter tomorrow that beckoned on the horizon. For in the depths of their shared struggle, they found strength, a bond forged in the crucible of adversity that would see them through even the darkest of nights. With a heart heavy with concern and a mind focused on solutions, the narrator embarked upon the task of preparing Sariga for their journey ahead. Gathering suitable branches for a makeshift splint, he approached the challenge with a sense of determination born of necessity. Handing Sariga a dose of pain relievers and a small measure of brandy, the narrator sought to ease his friend's suffering, if only for a fleeting moment. Though he knew these measures offered only temporary respite, they represented the best course of action available to them in their current predicament. As he watched Sariga accept the offered remedies, a flicker of gratitude danced in his eyes, a silent acknowledgement of the narrator's efforts to alleviate his pain and ensure his comfort in the face of adversity. "These may be humble comforts," my friend the narrator remarked, his voice laced with empathy, "but they are the best we have at our disposal in this moment. Together we will weather this storm, one step at a time." And with those words of reassurance hanging in the air like a benediction, they set about their preparations, a testament to their resourcefulness in the face of uncertainty, and a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always a glimmer of hope to be found. With a blend of determination and ingenuity, the narrator set to work crafting a makeshift sled from the surrounding pine branches and ropes, fashioning a crude yet effective mode of transportation for Sariga. Each branch was selected with care, their sturdy yet flexible nature lending itself well to the task at hand. As the sled took shape beneath his skilled hands, the narrator couldn't help but marvel at the simple elegance of their solution, a testament to the power of human resourcefulness in the face of adversity. Once the sled was complete, Sariga was gently laid upon it, his injured leg cradled within the improvised splint. The tight binding provided by the splint offered a measure of stability and comfort, alleviating much of the pain Sariga had been enduring. With Sariga secured upon the sled, the narrator took a moment to admire their handiwork. Despite the dire circumstances that had led them to this point, there was a sense of pride in knowing that they had found a way to adapt and overcome the challenges they faced. "Rest easy," my friend the narrator said, his voice filled with reassurance. "We may be faced with trials, but together we will find our way through." And with that, they set off once more, the sled gliding smoothly over the snow-covered terrain, a symbol of their resilience and determination in the face of adversity. In the quiet expanse of the wintry wilderness, the narrator found themselves relying on a tool that seemed both simple and yet profoundly powerful, the compass. Despite their lack of experience, they approached the task with a determined spirit, determined to master the art of orienteering. With the compass in hand, they began to decipher its subtle language, learning to interpret the needle's steady guidance amidst the vastness of the landscape. Each twist and turn of the dial became a step towards mastery, as they honed their ability to discern direction with increasing confidence. Guided by the cardinal points, the narrator charted a course through the snowy expanse, selecting landmarks and distant features to guide their way. With each stride, they felt a sense of purpose, a growing certainty that they were on the right path, bound for the railway line that would lead them to safety. Though the journey was fraught with uncertainty, the compass became their steadfast companion, a beacon of hope amidst the swirling snow and biting wind. And as they pressed onward, they did so with a quiet resolve, knowing that with each passing moment, they drew closer to their destination. In the end, it was not just the compass that guided them through the wilderness, but their own indomitable spirit, their unwavering determination to conquer the challenges that lay ahead. And as they ventured forth, they did so with a newfound sense of purpose, ready to face whatever trials awaited them on their journey. As the biting chill of winter tightened its grip, the travelers found themselves facing a formidable adversary, the bitter cold. With temperatures plummeting to a bone-chilling 30 degrees below freezing, each breath felt like a stab of icy needles against their skin. While the narrator managed to stave off the worst of the cold through constant movement and exertion, poor Sergei, confined to the makeshift sled, bore the brunt of the frost's relentless assault. Immobilized by his injury, he became a captive to the freezing temperatures, his body gradually succumbing to the numbing embrace of winter's icy embrace. Despite their best efforts to insulate him with blankets and layers of clothing, Sergei's condition worsened with each passing moment, his skin turning an unhealthy shade of blue beneath the layers of frost. With every mile they traveled, the cold seemed to seep deeper into his bones, draining him of warmth and vitality. Yet even in the face of such adversity, the travelers refused to succumb to despair. Determined to press onward, they rallied their dwindling reserves of strength and resolve, knowing that their survival depended on their ability to endure the bitter cold and reach safety before it was too late. And so, with hearts filled with courage and determination, they forged ahead, their spirits undaunted by the frigid grip of winter's icy embrace. For in the depths of their souls, they knew that no matter how harsh the cold, they would persevere, guided by the flickering flame of hope that burned bright within them. In their desperate bid to stave off the encroaching cold and ease Sergei's suffering, the intrepid travelers turned to their limited resources with ingenuity and determination. Initially, they relied on the warming embrace of brandy to ward off the chill, but alas, their meager supply dwindled swiftly, leaving them bereft of this precious source of warmth. Undeterred by this setback, they turned to more primitive methods, making strategic pit stops along their arduous journey to kindle small fires. These brief respites offered temporary relief from the biting cold, allowing Sergei a brief respite from the relentless assault of winter's icy grip. In addition to their efforts to combat the cold, Sergei resorted to the use of analgesics to alleviate the agonizing pain that gnawed at his injured limb. Each dose provided a fleeting reprieve from his suffering, dulling the sharp edge of pain and granting him a brief respite from the relentless torment of his injury. Meanwhile, in moments of respite, Sergei sought solace in the comforting ritual of smoking, finding a small measure of relief from the crushing weight of their predicament. The fragrant tendrils of smoke spiraled upward, mingling with the frigid air as Sergei sought refuge in the familiar embrace of nicotine. Though their resources were scarce and their options limited, the travelers refused to surrender to despair. With each passing mile, they pressed onward, driven by an unyielding determination to defy the odds and emerge triumphant against the unforgiving wilderness. For in the crucible of adversity, they discovered a strength and resilience they never knew they possessed, forging an unbreakable bond forged in the crucible of survival. As the intrepid duo ventured deeper into the heart of the Siberian wilderness, nature unleashed its fury upon them with a vengeance. The once tranquil landscape was engulfed in a tempestuous symphony of snow and wind, a relentless onslaught that tested the limits of their endurance. The abrupt onset of a fierce blizzard transformed their surroundings into a whiteout maze, obscuring all familiar landmarks and rendering navigation by azimuth nearly impossible. Each step forward became a battle against the elements, as gusts of wind threatened to knock them off course and icy tendrils of snow clawed at their faces. Forced to rely on their instincts and the faint glimmer of hope that flickered within, they pressed on, their determination unyielding despite the daunting odds stacked against them. Every footfall was a testament to their resilience, a defiance against the whims of nature's wrath. Yet, with each passing moment, the blizzard seemed to intensify, hurling icy pellets with merciless precision and shrouding their path in an impenetrable veil of white. progress slowed to a crawl as they fought against the howling winds and biting cold, their resolve tested to its very limits. Despite the overwhelming adversity they faced, the bond between them only grew stronger, forged in the crucible of hardship and adversity. Together they braved the storm, their spirits unbroken, their eyes fixed on the distant beacon of hope that awaited them at journey's end. As the snowfall intensified and the wind howled mercilessly, the intrepid narrator found himself battling against nature's fury to establish their campsite. With each gust of wind threatening to tear the tent from his grasp and each flake of snow obscuring his vision, the task at hand seemed daunting, if not impossible. Nevertheless, fueled by determination and a stubborn refusal to succumb to the elements, he pressed on. With numb fingers and chattering teeth, he cleared a space for their shelter, his movements hastened by the biting cold that gnawed at his extremities. Once the site was prepared, he set to work gathering firewood, his hands fumbling with each icy branch as he struggled to maintain his grip. The howling wind seemed intent on extinguishing any flicker of warmth their fire might provide, yet he persisted, his resolve unyielding in the face of adversity. Despite their best efforts, the meager comforts of their makeshift camp offered little respite from the brutal onslaught of the storm. The biting cold seeped through their clothing, chilling them to the bone, while the relentless wind threatened to snuff out their feeble attempts at warmth. But amidst the chaos and turmoil, there existed a quiet camaraderie, a shared understanding forged in the crucible of hardship. Together they huddled around the struggling fire, drawing strength from each other's presence as they braved the elements, determined to endure whatever challenges lay ahead. As the relentless snowfall blanketed their campsite, the weight of the accumulating snow proved too much for their tent to bear, causing it to sag under the burden. With a sinking feeling of dismay, they were forced to hastily readjust the tent stakes and guy lines, hoping to reinforce its structure before it collapsed entirely under the weight of the snow. Meanwhile, their struggles with the fire continued unabated. Despite their best efforts to coax warmth from the flickering flames, the biting wind seemed determined to snatch away any semblance of heat they managed to produce. Each gust sent sparks flying and threatened to extinguish the feeble fire, leaving them shivering in its feeble glow. To make matters worse, the snowfall only intensified, pelting down relentlessly and coating everything in a thick layer of frost. Their attempts to stoke the fire were thwarted by the snow's dampening effect, which sapped the flames of their vitality and left them struggling to generate even a modicum of warmth. Yet, despite the odds stacked against them, they persevered, their determination unyielding in the face of adversity. With each passing moment, they drew strength from each other's presence, finding solace in the shared struggle against the elements. And though the night seemed interminable, they refused to succumb to despair, clinging to the hope that dawn would bring relief from the biting cold. As the night wore on, the emotional strain on the narrator became palpable, manifesting in a torrent of self-criticism and frustration directed at the ill-fated decision to embark on this treacherous journey. Each step seemed to echo with the weight of their predicament, a relentless reminder of the consequences of their recklessness. Meanwhile, Sariga's suffering only compounded the narrator's anguish, his cries of pain mingling with desperate pleas for reassurance. In moments of clarity, he would berate himself for the mishap, his voice laden with self-recrimination and regret. Yet, as quickly as his despair surfaced, it would be replaced by frantic entreaties for his companion not to abandon him to his fate. For both of them, the emotional roller coaster of the situation took its toll, exacerbating their physical exhaustion and pushing them to the brink of despair. Each stumble in the snow, each gust of icy wind, felt like a cruel twist of fate, testing their resilience and resolve to the breaking point. Yet, amidst the turmoil, there remained a flicker of hope, a stubborn determination to defy the odds and emerge victorious against the odds. It was a small spark, to be sure, but one that burned brightly in the darkness of the Siberian night, a beacon of resilience in the face of adversity. The night dragged on mercilessly, a symphony of discomfort and distress echoing through the desolate landscape. Sariga's tortured groans pierced the frigid air, his restless movements betraying the agony that held him captive. With each passing hour, the specter of pain loomed larger, casting a long shadow over any hopes of respite. Meanwhile, the narrator's desperate attempts to find solace in sleep proved futile. his mind consumed by a whirlwind of anxieties and regrets. Each fleeting moment of drowsiness was swiftly shattered by the harsh reality of their situation, leaving him to grapple with the relentless march of time in agonizing silence. As dawn broke on the horizon, there was little relief to be found, only a bleak reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. The weather, far from offering a reprieve, had only worsened overnight, its icy grip tightening with each passing moment. In the face of such adversity, any hope of improvement seemed fleeting at best, leaving them to confront the harsh truth of their predicament with grim determination. As morning light reluctantly filtered through the thick veil of clouds, the narrator was confronted with a harsh truth: their current plight demanded action. With every passing moment, the biting cold gnawed away at their resolve, urging them to abandon their precarious sanctuary and brave the unforgiving wilderness once more. Despite the overwhelming odds stacked against them, the narrator found a flicker of determination kindling within, fueled by the desperate pleas of Siriga echoing in the recesses of his mind. Each word, a poignant reminder of their shared struggle, served as a beacon of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. Drawing upon reserves of strength he never knew he possessed, the narrator made a solemn vow to press on, driven by an unwavering resolve to see their journey through to its bitter end. With Siriga's trust weighing heavily upon his shoulders, he took the first tentative steps forward, steeling himself for the trials that lay ahead. Together, they embarked upon a journey fraught with uncertainty, their fates intertwined by the cruel hand of fate. Forging ahead into the unknown, they clung to the fragile promise of salvation that lay just beyond the horizon, their spirits undaunted by the formidable challenges that awaited them. As the weight of their predicament bore down upon them, the narrator found themselves ensnared in a tempest of conflicting emotions. Anger, frustration, and fear intertwined in a tangled web, threatening to consume them whole. When Siriga voiced his fears of perishing in the wilderness, it was as if a spark had ignited a powder keg within the narrator's soul. With a ferocity born of desperation, the narrator lashed out, their words a torrent of raw emotion unleashed upon their hapless companion. In that moment of blistering fury, the harshness of their reprimand echoed through the desolate landscape, cutting through the suffocating silence like a knife. Yet, amidst the chaos of their tumultuous exchange, a strange sense of clarity emerged. The harshness of the narrator's rebuke served not only to silence Siriga's cries, but also to reignite the flickering flames of determination within their own heart. It was a brutal awakening, a harsh reminder of the harsh realities they faced, but it also served as a catalyst for action. With newfound resolve, the narrator pushed aside their tumultuous emotions, channeling their anger into a steely determination to press onward. For in the crucible of adversity, amidst the swirling tempest of their own making, they found the strength to endure, to defy the odds, and to continue their journey into the unknown. With each weary step, the narrator's strength ebbed away, sapped by the relentless onslaught of harsh weather and the burden of their heavy pack and tent. The weight of their gear seemed to grow heavier with each passing moment, dragging at their limbs and testing the limits of their endurance. As they trudged on through the blinding snowstorm, the world around them became a blur of white, with visibility reduced to mere meters. The compass, their sole guide in this frozen wilderness, offered little solace amidst the swirling chaos of wind and snow, its needle dancing erratically with each gust. Meanwhile, Siriga, despite the numbing effects of his third and final bottle of cognac, shivered uncontrollably, his teeth chattering in a discordant symphony of cold and despair. The warmth of the alcohol provided only temporary respite from the biting cold, its fleeting embrace quickly fading into the icy embrace of the winter storm. Yet, amidst the relentless onslaught of nature's fury, a stubborn glimmer of hope flickered within the hearts of the weary travelers. Though their bodies screamed for respite and their minds threatened to succumb to despair, they pressed on, driven by a determination born of necessity and fueled by the desperate belief that salvation lay just beyond the horizon. As the relentless blizzard raged on, the narrator's sense of direction began to falter, each passing moment blurring the line between reality and despair. The once familiar landscape of the forest now seemed an endless maze of twisted trees and swirling snow, a disorienting labyrinth that mocked his efforts to find his way. With each futile glance at the compass, its needle spinning aimlessly in his trembling hand, the last vestiges of hope began to fade. Doubt gnawed at his resolve, whispering cruel truths of his own mortality and the futility of his struggle. In the suffocating grip of despair, even the simplest of tasks became Herculean trials, every step forward a battle against the encroaching darkness that threatened to consume him. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds stacked against him, the narrator pressed on, driven by a primal instinct to survive at any cost. It was a journey devoid of purpose or direction, a desperate bid for salvation in a world gone mad with snow and silence. With each faltering step, he moved ever closer to the edge of oblivion, his spirit battered but unbroken, clinging to the faint glimmer of hope that still burned within his heart. As the hours dragged on, their journey seemed to stretch into an eternity of bitter cold and unyielding darkness. With each passing moment, the chill of the snow-laden air sank deeper into their bones, and the promise of warmth became a distant memory. At their makeshift campsite, Siriga's shivering form was a stark reminder of their dire situation. Despite the narrator's desperate attempts, the spark of life eluded their frozen fingers, and the once familiar ritual of kindling a fire now seemed an impossible dream. In the suffocating grip of despair, the flickering flame of hope threatened to gutter out entirely. With numb hands and a heavy heart, the narrator faced the harsh reality of their predicament, the bitter taste of defeat lingering on his tongue. Yet, even as despair threatened to consume him, a stubborn determination burned bright within his soul. Forced to confront the chilling specter of their own mortality, they pressed on into the unforgiving night, each step a testament to their unyielding will to survive. Though the darkness threatened to swallow them whole, they refused to surrender to its icy embrace, clinging to the fragile thread of hope that still bound them to the world of the living. Suddenly, the dense thicket of trees before them began to thin, and a surge of hope propelled the narrator to quicken his pace, his heart pounding with anticipation. Could it be? Was this the long-awaited railway they had been seeking? Eagerly, he forged ahead, his breath misting in the frigid air as he strained to catch a glimpse of the familiar tracks. But as the trees reluctantly parted to reveal a desolate expanse of frozen river where the railway should have been, the crushing weight of reality came crashing down upon him like an avalanche. The bitter taste of disappointment mingled with the icy tendrils of despair as he realized the magnitude of their mistake. In that moment of stark clarity, a sense of helplessness washed over him, drowning out all hope and leaving only the cold, unyielding grip of fear in its wake. With each passing second, the realization of their dire predicament loomed larger, casting a long shadow over their already fragile resolve. Yet, even in the face of such overwhelming odds, a flicker of determination still burned within him, a stubborn refusal to surrender to the encroaching darkness. With gritted teeth and a steely resolve, he vowed to press on, determined to find a way out of the wilderness and back to safety, no matter the cost. As the narrator stood on the banks of the frozen river, the realization washed over him like a chilling wave they had stumbled upon the icy expanse of a river instead of the expected railway. With sinking hearts, they comprehended the gravity of their error, understanding that their chances of reaching the station were now all but extinguished. It dawned on them that the nearest signs of human habitation lay days away, across the unforgiving wilderness that stretched before them. Despite the disheartening realization of their misdirection, a glimmer of hope flickered on the horizon. In the distance, amidst the stark landscape, a dark blotch caught the narrator's eye, a solitary cabin standing sentinel against the elements. With weary yet hopeful hearts, they trudged towards it, their steps quickening in anticipation. Could it be a hunter's lodge, a secluded cabin, or perhaps a shelter left behind by intrepid travelers? With each step closer, their hopes swelled, clinging to the possibility of finding refuge from the biting wind and biting cold within its walls. With the last dregs of his strength, the narrator fought against the weight of the snow, desperately trying to pry open the door of the cabin. Each attempt felt like an eternity, the biting cold gnawing at his fingers as he clawed through the icy barrier. Finally, with a surge of adrenaline, he managed to force the door ajar and stumbled inside, dragging Siriga and the sled behind him. Stepping into the dimly lit interior of the cabin, a wave of dread washed over the narrator as he beheld the scene before him. Sariga lay motionless, blanketed by a layer of snow that seemed to have settled upon him in his final moments. His eyes, open and unseeing, stared into the void, their gaze fixed on some unseen horizon. The snow upon his face remained unmelted, a chilling testament to the cold grip of death that had claimed him. In that frozen moment, the narrator's heart clenched with the stark realization of their loss, the weight of it pressing down upon him like the snow-laden branches outside. As the realization of his friend's death sank in, the narrator collapsed to the floor, overcome by a paralyzing horror, unwilling to accept the truth of what had transpired. In a state of shock, he grappled with his own helplessness and the finality of their loss. Tentatively reaching out to touch Sariga's body, the narrator recoiled in horror as he felt the icy stiffness of his friend's limb, frozen in the embrace of death. A wave of panic surged through him as he contemplated the possibility that he had been unwittingly dragging his dead friend along their arduous journey, the chilling realization intensifying the gnawing fear of solitude amidst the vastness of the taiga. The narrator realizes he's alone with his friend's lifeless body, and the thought terrifies him to the core. He feels a profound emptiness and coldness creeping over him as he gradually drifts into sleep, entertaining the notion that perhaps it would be for the best if they were to die together. Suddenly, Sariga jolts the narrator, startling him as he discovers Sariga is still alive. Sariga explains that he had merely been unconscious and had thought himself on the brink of death. He had closed the door and attempted to rouse the narrator by striking him across the face. At first, the narrator can hardly believe his eyes, but then he embraces his friend, realizing that he is indeed alive. Sariga confirms that he too had thought the narrator was dead, and it was only after striking him several times that he managed to awaken him. After their emotional reunion, Sariga points out a stove in the corner of the cabin. They decide to fire it up, using the available firewood, although they worry it might not last through the night. As a last resort, they plan to dismantle furniture to keep the fire going. As the narrator delves into his tattered backpack, his fingers fumble through the disarray until they brush against the familiar shape of a flashlight. With a sense of relief, he retrieves it, hoping its feeble beam can pierce the gloom cloaking the cabin's interior. Clicking it on, the pale illumination casts eerie shadows on the walls, revealing the stark reality of their situation. Outside, the relentless snowfall obscures any hope of scavenging firewood. The wind howls like a relentless adversary, driving thick blankets of snow against the cabin's walls. Reluctantly, they abandon the idea of venturing into the tempest, realizing that survival hinges on making the most of their limited resources within the shelter of the cabin's walls. With trembling hands, the narrator kindles the fire in the stove, its feeble flames casting a flickering glow across the cabin's walls. As the warmth slowly seeps into their bones, a glimmer of hope ignites within them, a beacon amidst the darkness of their ordeal. The dim light of the cabin offers just enough visibility for the narrator and Sergei to huddle over the map, tracing their route and attempting to pinpoint their current location. With each contour and landmark scrutinized under the flickering glow of the firelight, they deduce that they might be situated near a tributary of the river. This revelation fills them with a mixture of relief and trepidation, for while it provides a sense of direction, it also underscores the vastness of their predicament and the uncertain path that lies ahead. They decide to follow the riverbank to reach the bridge and then head straight to the station. The narrator expresses hope that the blizzard will cease, allowing their plan to succeed. Sergei suggests adding more firewood to the stove to keep them warmer throughout the night. Despite the narrator's fatigue and readiness to sleep, Sergei insists on maintaining the fire, and they agree to add more wood. As they stoke the flames, their faces bathed in the soft glow of the fire. A sense of companionship and determination fills the cabin, a silent vow to endure whatever challenges lie ahead together. The narrator spends the night in the cabin, keeping watch over the sleeping Sergei and tending to the stove, feeding it with firewood. As the crackling flames cast dancing shadows on the walls, they both find warmth and comfort in this temporary shelter from the unforgiving elements outside. Despite the howling winds and the relentless snowfall, the cabin becomes a haven of solace, where their flickering hopes for survival burn as brightly as the fire in the stove. With each log added to the flames, they silently vow to persevere through the night, finding solace in each other's presence amidst the harsh wilderness. Reflecting on the past, the narrator's mind wanders back to the events that led them into the woods, retracing each step with a mix of nostalgia and regret. Memories flood in, like shards of broken glass, reminding them of the moments of laughter and joy shared with Sergei, now juxtaposed against the stark reality of his recent demise. The weight of grief hangs heavy in the air, casting a somber shadow over their thoughts as they grapple with the harshness of their circumstances. They remember the excitement of setting out on their adventure, the thrill of exploring uncharted territory, and the camaraderie that bound them together like brothers. But as they recall the twists and turns of their journey, they cannot escape the bitter taste of loss that now taints their memories. The narrator finds themselves replaying scenes from their past, like a movie reel flickering in the darkness of their mind. Each moment holds significance, each interaction etched into their consciousness with painful clarity. They mourn not only for Sergei but also for the innocence they have lost along the way. Yet, amidst the grief and sorrow, there lingers a flicker of hope, a belief that somehow, someway they will find a way to honor Sergei's memory and navigate their way out of the wilderness. It is this glimmer of optimism that keeps them going, propelling them forward through the darkest of nights and the coldest of days. As they sit huddled together in the dim light of the cabin, the map unfolds before them like a treasure map waiting to be deciphered. The flickering flames of the stove cast dancing shadows across its surface, illuminating the contours of the terrain and the winding trails they have traversed. With furrowed brows and intense concentration, they trace their finger along the map's intricate lines, retracing their steps from memory. Each bend in the river, each ridge of the mountains, becomes a landmark in their quest to pinpoint their exact location. Time seems to slow as they pore over the map, analyzing every detail with meticulous care. They recount the days since they first set foot in the wilderness, mentally reconstructing their journey from start to finish. With each passing moment, their understanding of their surroundings deepens, and a glimmer of hope begins to stir within them. Despite the uncertainty that looms over their predicament, they refuse to succumb to despair. Instead, they cling to the belief that knowledge is their most potent weapon against the wilderness. Armed with determination and a newfound sense of purpose, they vow to unravel the mysteries of their surroundings and forge a path to safety. In the quiet solitude of the cabin, amidst the crackling of the dwindling fire, the narrator's thoughts turn to their companion, Sergei. With a heavy heart, they reflect on the trust and gratitude they hold for him, even in his absence. They remember his unwavering resolve, his unwavering courage in the face of adversity, and the countless times he lent a helping hand to ensure their survival. As they speak softly into the darkness, their words carry the weight of a lifetime's worth of memories shared with their friend. They confess their regrets for any moments of doubt or hesitation, acknowledging that Sergei was their anchor in the storm, their guiding light through the darkest of nights. With tears glistening in their eyes, they bid farewell to their dear friend, knowing that his spirit will forever linger in the echoes of their shared experiences. They offer a silent prayer for his soul, a tribute to the enduring bond that transcends the boundaries of life and death. And as the first light of dawn begins to filter through the frosted window panes, the narrator finds solace in the knowledge that Sergei's legacy will live on, a testament to the power of friendship and the resilience of the human spirit.